The second Passover. The Lord spoke to Moses in Sinai desert in the first month of the second year after the people of Israel left Egypt. He said, "On the 14th day of this month, beginning at sunset, the people of Israel are to observe the Passover according to all the rules and regulations for it." So Moses told the people to observe the Passover. And on the evening of the 14th day of the first month, they did so in the Sinai desert. The people did everything just as the Lord had commanded Moses. But there were some men who were ritually unclean because they had touched a corpse, and they were not able to keep the Passover on that day. They went to Moses and Aaron and said, "We are unclean because we have touched a corpse. But why should we be excluded from presenting the Lord's offering with the rest of the Israelites?" Moses answered, "Wait until I receive instructions from the Lord." The Lord told Moses to say to the people of Israel, "When any of you or your descendants are unclean from touching a corpse or are far away on a journey, but still want to keep the Passover, you are permitted to observe it 1 month later instead, on the evening of the 14th day of the second month. Celebrate it with unleavened bread and bitter herbs. Do not leave any of the food until the following morning, and do not break any of the animal's bones. Observe the Passover according to all regulations. But anyone who is ritually clean and not away on a journey, and who does not observe the Passover, shall no longer be considered one of my people, because he did not present the offering to me at the appointed time. He must suffer the consequences of his sin. If a foreigner living among you wants to keep the Passover, he must observe it according to all the rules and regulations, and the same law applies to everyone, whether native or foreigner. The fiery cloud. On the day the tent of the Lord's presence was set up, a cloud came and covered it. At night the cloud looked like a fire. Whenever the cloud lifted, the people of Israel broke camp, and they set up camp again in the place where the cloud came down. The people broke camp at the command of the Lord, and at his command they set up camp. As long as the cloud stayed over the tent, they stayed in the same camp. When the cloud stayed over the tent for a long time, they obeyed the Lord and did not move on. Sometimes the cloud remained over the tent for only a few days. In any case, they remained in the camp or moved according to the command of the Lord. Sometimes the cloud remained only from evening until morning, and they moved on as soon as the cloud lifted. Whenever the cloud lifted, they moved on, whether it was 2 days, a month, a year, or longer. As long as the cloud remained over the tent, they did not move on. But when it lifted, they moved. They set up camp and broke camp in obedience to the commands which the Lord gave through Moses. The silver trumpets. The Lord said to Moses, "Make 2 trumpets of hammered silver to use for calling the people together and for breaking camp. When long blasts of sounded on both trumpets, the whole community is to gather round you at the entrance of the tent of my presence. But when only one trumpet is sounded, then only the leaders of the clans are to gather round you. When short blasts are surrounded, the tribes camped on the east will move out. When short blasts are sounded a second time, the tribes on the south will move out. So short blasts are to be sounded to break camp, in order to call the community together. Long blasts are to be sounded. The trumpets are to be blown by Aaron's sons, the priests. The following rule is to be observed for all time to come. When you are at war in your land, defending yourselves against an enemy who has attacked you, sound the signal for battle on these trumpets. I, the Lord your God, will help you and save you from your enemies. Also, on joyful occasions, at your new moon festivals and your other religious festivals, you are to blow the trumpets when you present your burnt offering and your fellowship offerings. Then I will help you. I am the Lord your God. The Israelites break camp. On the 20th day of the second month, in the second year after the people left Egypt, the cloud over the tent of the Lord's presence lifted, and the Israelites started on their journey out of the Sinai desert. The cloud came to rest in the wilderness of Paran. They began to march at the command of the Lord through Moses, and each time they moved, they were in the same order. Those under the banner of the division led by the tribe of Judah started out first, company by company, with Nahshon, son of Abinadab, in command. Nethanin, son of Zuar, was in command of the tribe of Issachar, and Eliab, son of Helon, was in command of the tribe of Zebulun. Then the tent would be taken down, and the clans of the Gershon and the Merari who carried it would start out. Next, those under the banner of the division led by the tribe of Reuben would start out, the company by company, with Elizur, son of Shedur, in command. Shelumiel, son of Zurishaddai, was in command of the tribe of Simeon, and Elishapha, son of Deol, was in command of the tribe of Gad. Then the Levite clan of Kohath would start out carrying the sacred objects. By the time they arrived at the next camp, the tent had been set up again. Next, those under the banner of the division led by the tribe of the Ephraim who start out company by company, and Alshama, son of Amihud, in command. Gamaliel, son of Pedahzur, was in command of the tribe of Manasseh, and the Abidan, son of Gideoni, was in command of the tribe of Benjamin. Finally, those under the banner of the division led by the tribe of Dan, serving as the rear guard of all the divisions, would start out company by company, with Azer, son of Ammishaddai, in command. Pagiel, son of Okran, was in command of the tribe of Asher, and Hira, son of Enan, was in command of the tribe of Naphtali. This then was the order of march, company by company, whenever the Israelites broke camp and set out. Moses said to his brother-in-law Hobab, son of Jethro, the Midianite, "We are about to start out for the place which the Lord said he would give us. He has promised to make Israel prosperous, so come with us, and we will share our prosperity with you." Hobab answered, "No, I am going back to my native land." "Please, don't leave us," Moses said. "You know where we can camp in the wilderness, and you can be our guide. If you come with us, we will share with you all the blessings that the Lord gives us." The people set out. When the people left Sinai, the holy mountain, they traveled for 3 days. The Lord's covenant box always went ahead of them to find a place for them to camp. As they moved on from each camp, the cloud of the Lord was over them by day. Whenever the covenant box started out, Moses would say, "Arise, Lord, scatter your enemies and put to flight those who hate you." And whenever it stopped, he would say, "Return, Lord, to the thousands of families of Israel." The place named TABERAH. The people began to complain to the Lord about their troubles. When the Lord heard them, he was angry and sent fire on the people. It burnt among them and destroyed one end of the camp. The people cried out to Moses for help. He prayed to the Lord, and the fire died down. So the place was named TABERAH, because there the fire of the Lord burnt among them. Moses chooses 70 leaders. There were some foreigners traveling with the Israelites. They had a strong craving for meat, and even the Israelites themselves began to complain. "If only we have some meat. In Egypt we used to eat all the fish we wanted, and it cost us nothing. Remember the cucumbers, the watermelons, the leeks, the onions, and the garlic we had. But now our strength is gone. There is nothing at all to eat, nothing but this manna day after day." Manna was like small seeds, whitish yellow in color. It fell on the camp all night along with the dew. The next morning the people would go round and gather it, grind it or pound it into flour, and then boil it and make it into flat cakes. It tasted like bread baked with olive oil. Moses heard all the people complaining as they stood about in groups at the entrances of their tents. He was distressed because the Lord was angry with them. And he said to the Lord, "Why have you treated me so badly? Why are you displeased with me? Why have you given me the responsibility for all these people? I didn't create them or bring them on to birth. Why should you ask me to act like a nurse and carry them in my arms, like babies all the way to the land you promised to their ancestors? Where could I get enough meat for all these people? They keep whining and asking for meat. I can't be responsible for all these people by myself. It's too much for me. If you are going to treat me like this, take pity on me and kill me, so that I won't have to endure your cruelty any longer." The Lord said to Moses, "Assemble 70 respected men who are recognized as leaders of the people. Bring them to me at the tent of my presence and tell them to stand there beside you. I will come down and speak with you there, and I will take some of the Spirit I have given you and give it to them. Then they can help you to bear the responsibility of these people, and you will not have to bear it alone. Now tell the people, purify yourselves, for tomorrow you will have meat to eat. The Lord has heard you whining and saying that you wished you had some meat and that you were better off in Egypt. Now the Lord will give you meat, and you will have to eat it. You will have to eat it not just for 1 or 2 days, or 5 or 10 or even 20 days, but for a whole month, until it comes out of your ears, until you are sick of it. This will happen because you have rejected the Lord who is here among you, and have complained to him that you should never have left Egypt." Moses said to the Lord, "Here I am, leading 600,000 people, and you say that you will give them enough meat for a month. Could enough cattle and sheep be killed to satisfy them? Are all the fish in the sea enough for them? Is there a limit to my power? The Lord answered, "You will soon see whether what I have said will happen or not." So Moses went out and told the people what the Lord had said. He assembled 70 of the leaders and placed them around the tent. Then the Lord came down in the cloud and spoke to him. He took some of the Spirit he had given to Moses and gave it to the 70 leaders. When the Spirit came on them, they began to shout like prophets, but not for long. 2 of the 70 leaders, Eldad and Medad, had stayed in the camp and had not gone out to the tent. There in the camp the Spirit came on them, and they too began to shout like prophets. A young man ran out to tell Moses what Eldad and Medad were doing. Then Joshua, son of Nun, who had been Moses' helper since he was a young man, spoke up and said to Moses, "Stop them, sir." Moses answered, "Are you concerned about my interests? I wish that the Lord would give his Spirit to all his people and make all of them shout like prophets." Then Moses and the 70 leaders of the Israel went back to camp. The Lord sends quails. Suddenly the Lord sent a wind that brought quails from the sea, flying less than a meter above the ground. They settled on the camp and all round it for many kilometers in every direction. So all that day, all night, and all the next day, the people worked catching quails. No one gathered less than 1,000 kilograms. They spread them out to dry all round the camp. While there was still plenty of meat for them to eat, the Lord became angry with the people and caused an epidemic to break out among them. That place was named Kibroth Hattaavah, which means graves of craving, because there they buried the people who had craved meat. From there, the people moved to Hazeroth, where they made camp. Miriam is punished. Moses had carried a Cushite woman and Miriam, and Aaron criticized him for it. They said, "Has the Lord spoken only through Moses? Hasn't he also spoken through us?" The Lord heard what they said. Moses was a humble man, more humble than anyone else on earth. Suddenly the Lord said to Moses, Aaron and Miriam, "I want the 3 of you to come out to the tent of my presence." They went, and the Lord came down in a pillar of cloud, stood at the entrance of the tent, and called out, "Aaron, Miriam." The 2 of them stepped forward, and the Lord said, "Now hear what I have to say. When there are prophets among you, I reveal myself to them in visions and speak to them in dreams. It is different when I speak with my servant Moses. I have put him in charge of all my people Israel, so I speak to him face to face, clearly and not in riddles. He has even seen my form. How dare you speak against my servant Moses?" The Lord was angry with them, and so as he departed and the cloud left the tent, Miriam's skin was suddenly covered with a dreaded disease and turned as white as snow. When Aaron looked at her and saw that she was covered with the disease, he said to Moses, "Please, sir, do not make us suffer this punishment for our foolish sins. Don't let her become like something born dead, with half its flesh eaten away." So Moses cried out to the Lord, "O God, heal her." The Lord answered, If her father had spat in her face, she would have to bear her disgrace for 7 days. So let her be shut out of the camp for a week, and after that she can be brought back in. Miriam was shut out of the camp for 7 days, and the people did not move on until she was brought back in. Then they left Hazeroth and set up camp in the wilderness of Paran.